Welcome to The Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly podcast featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from fresh perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 272, A New Day. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host. I'm also lovingly known as RCA. Anyway, friends, welcome to the show. I'm here today in 818 Studios with my producer.
Good morning, everybody. This is Dave Croft. As always, we want to welcome you to a brand new week and welcome to episode 272 of the Authentic Spiritual Journey. And it's so good to be with you. We always love being, hopefully, one of, if not the first voice of positivity and upwards thinking in the week.
Amen. Well said, Dave. I mean, I love that we, do air on Monday. It's funny because we just talked about that recently, I think, on a show, but it was a conscious decision because we wanted to help people start out the week. And today's theme is a part of that. But before we get into that, I want to do a shout out, Dave. Can we please do another shout out? Because I got re-inspired when we started doing shout outs again, that we really are reaching the world with our show, right? I'm not just making that up.
No. I pulled the statistics and we were scrolling through and I literally, said, okay, pick a state. And so we are giving a shout out to folks listening to us from Atlanta, Georgia. Hello, Georgia. Georgia on my mind.
That's right. ATL. So, friends, family, we love you. We bless you. And my home state of Georgia, God bless you if you found your way to our podcast and you live in Atlanta. I have some great friends there, though, too, that I've actually met through ministry. One is from South Africa and now lives in Atlanta working. So that's pretty fun. Atlanta is an amazing kind of cosmopolitan city, even though it's historically been seen as a city that was racist and such as that. Really, the city has grown, is developed, is evolved, and I think there's still more to go, as with every place around the country, including Orlando. But friends in Atlanta, thank you so much for listening. We love you. We bless you. And I love knowing that I'm ministering to folks in my home state. So that makes me super happy.
I think Georgia's doing a lot to help kind of offset the stereotype of I'm trying to think of a
well, it's history, right? And it was really interesting when I moved to Seattle from Georgia, as a youngster. That's where I went to college, and it was a real culture shock because, in Georgia, if you grew up white, you knew what was happening racially. If you grew up black, you knew what was happening racially. But when you go to a city like Seattle, everything was so hidden, interestingly. And in Georgia, I'm not saying it was better. It was just up and in your face. There was never a question where you would be welcome or not because it was so out there, it's interesting because I've seen a lot of healing in many of those places. And so there is, I believe, evolvement happening. And, you never really get a whole story when you hear stories because not everyone is like that. Like I say, I'm from Georgia and people are like, oh my God, how did you do that? And then often, if I say I'm from Red Oak, people say, wait, you're white. How are you from Red Oak? And so the stereotypical stories you hear are not usually the whole truth,
right?
So
I guess I was just saying, Georgia's doing a lot right here lately. So I'll just
absolutely true.
I'll just say that.
Absolutely true. Well, and it's interesting, as we mentioned also recently, that because of our lineage connection, that the manager there, his girlfriend is an actress and they're moving to Georgia. It's crazy that it's becoming like a movie capital.
Yeah, it really, really is.
There's television too, though. Yeah, not just movies. Sorry, go ahead.
It's a huge it's becoming a huge TV and production entertainment town. It used to be up in North Carolina, but due to North Carolina politicians getting rid of tax breaks, those movies got to get made somewhere. So they just literally just moved down the highway down to Atlanta.
Exactly. Tyler Perry was one of the first really to do a lot of shooting in Georgia, I'm thinking, and he lives in the same town as my family, which is a town 30 miles south of Atlanta called Noonan, Georgia. But, it's called the City of Homes, and there's beautiful historic homes there. There's a courthouse that was used as a hospital during the Civil War. I mean, a lot of neat history there. Yeah. Some not so, like I say, some dark history as well, or darker time, I should say, for the state. But it's coming up and out, and it's growing and developing. It's also driving housing prices higher. From family, I hear about, isn't this great? All these movies, my taxes just went up the maximum amount. I was literally watching a movie the other day, and I saw my sisters. I was like, oh, I remember when they were filming that, and I was standing in front of one of those classic cars, right across.
I think Steve Harvey, don't they shoot Family Feud in Florida? I think. Yeah,
in Florida or in Georgia?
Georgia. I'm sorry. Yes, Georgia.
Yeah. I think they do.
Yeah, at the end, it's like made in Georgia. Yep. Family Feud. But no, I like Georgia a lot.
Yeah, I do too. And I had just watched another Medea movie the other day and was laughing at all the Georgia stuff. And by the way, if you're from that area and you haven't gone out to some of the more beautiful natural spots, I want to encourage you to. There are some beautiful walks and hikes, and the pine trees are just so nurturing there. The creeks, it's, the small foothills. It's very, very nurturing to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because I grew up there, or if it's just, frankly, just beautiful. But, we grew up fishing and being on creeks and lakes. And when I go back there, and I'm going to go back here in the next 30 days, there's a couple of places I just have to go. It's like, yes, I'm going to see you people later, but I have to go here. And I've done spiritual release work there. I've played. I've taken my son there. I took my mom there towards the end of her life. That these places really meant something to us, as we were growing and developing, because it was just like an anchor, these natural places.
Yeah.
So,
when Shannon and I had our 20th anniversary motorcycle trip up to North Carolina, up historic Highway 17.
Oh, yeah.
The most beautiful. I mean, Florida was nice, South Carolina and North Carolina. But Georgia was just gorgeous. 17 through Georgia on motorcycles,
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever shared, Dave, that blues song I wrote about Highway 27. Have I ever?
Not that I know of.
We'll save that for another day. But it was on a drive to Atlanta that I wrote it.
Right on. Very cool.
All right. Well, today, so friends in Georgia, thank you, listeners. We love you. We bless you. And Dave, give us our title for today one more time.
Today for episode 272 is A New Day. A New Day.
Yes. And friends, this is important to me, this title. And I kind of woke up excited to talk about this because this is the teaching in action. And what is the idea? The idea behind this title today is a new day, is that every day is this wonderful opportunity stretched out before you. And Dave, you and I have talked about this several times because we tend to get up early. You get up even earlier than me, but I often get up quite early. And when I do that, I'm reminded that each day is an opportunity stretched out before me. Having said that, if I do not do the work the night before I go to bed, I often wake up with the same frustrations and challenges of the day before. So what am I saying here? What I'm saying is every day is a new day. Every day is an opportunity for a brand new day, for brand new opportunities, for a brand new energy, for accomplishing things that you need. And I think most of us go into each day pretty unconscious simply because that's what we've always done. You go to bed, you wake up, you do the same thing again. You have this routine, you have that routine. And I love my routine, friends. So what I'm suggesting is that spiritually, And emotionally, there might be a new day that wants to stretch out before you. And if you're bringing the emotional baggage, the hurts from the past, maybe even the church or ministers, priests have hurt you in the past. Well, what I've discovered is that if we don't do a little release or forgiveness work the night before we go to sleep, what happens is we wake up the next day and we do the exact same things emotionally and spiritually, and we expect different results. And this is important. So I want you to think about, like, each day is this like beautiful gift. And if you don't do the work the day before or the night before, that gift really just sits there and kind of gathers dust. That literally there's a gift for you in every day. But if you're taking old feelings, old energy, old emotional baggage, old resentments, old hurts, old pains, old patterning and behaviors, then if we try to take that into the new day, then the thing that is there for us can never be fully experienced. And I know I said a lot, so I want to give you a second just to think about that every day is an opportunity. And am I treating it as such? It's just a thoughtful question for me today. Did I release the energy yesterday so that I could come into today and let this day be as beautiful, as grand, as expansive, as wonderful as it is supposed to be? You know, before we jumped on this call to record, Dave, I was, thinking about, you and I were talking briefly, about the last couple of days. And I was thinking about, well, yesterday I accomplished more in one day than I normally might in a week. And I'm not sure it was a great idea to do that much in one day. I'm still waking up from it. But what was interesting is that I was dialing into spirit with the time I had and the opportunity I had. And I felt so strongly guided to do the things I did. And then at the end of the day, I got to the point, where I was really just tired. And I said, okay, Spirit, what's mine to do? And it was like, I felt Spirit say, release, let go, and go to sleep in that beautiful new bed you just put together, and allow me to help you rest. It was like this really beautiful, like, I've done everything I can do. So now I'm going to let go and rest. And sleep was so sweet last night. And I was in the process of relaxing, of letting go of the day. And that's when I went to sleep. So when I woke up, and I'm not sure why, I had energy for the day. It doesn't make sense. Yesterday was like 2 days in one in terms of activity. My son was going here and there, church in Tampa, and by the way, let's go pick up a new piece of furniture and spend hours putting it together. But that was what I was guided to do. That's what I was guided to do. And interestingly, my agreement with myself as I was putting this furniture together, I said to my son, do you think I have time? He said, I don't know. And I said, well, I might need to lean on you a little bit. He said, I am happy to help you. I have a lot of homework I'm doing. Call me if you need me and I'll run in here. And that's what we did. And so my agreement with myself was, if I took the old bed apart, I would have to get the new bed so I had somewhere to sleep. And all that said, what made the difference of how I felt waking up today was when I had done all I could do, I could release and let go. I could forgive. I could release the day. Because, friends, let's be honest. Sometimes days happen and not everything happens exactly the way we want. Maybe we're disappointed, or maybe, I don't know, we got angry about something, or, I didn't, for instance, for me yesterday, I wasn't sure I really gave the best message I've ever given. I was in a little bit of self-reflection, and I said to myself, did anybody get anything out of that? I I felt kind of disconnected in what I said. I got a lot of, positive feedback and everything, but I was just asking myself, was there something about this? So I think last night, as I was really guided to put that bed together and, spend all that energy and move stuff around, I think I was really guided to do that, to move through some of that energy so I could release it. I didn't know at the time that was why, but as I was drifting off to sleep and then this morning waking up fresh and free of that, it was like, oh, I bet part of that was just to release some of that self-judgment that, wasn't needed. So, friends, don't we all have that? Maybe a meeting doesn't go the way we hoped, or we say something dumb, or we get overly frustrated at nothing. And I think if we don't deal with what those emotions are, they continue the next day and the next day and the next day. What I learned several years ago about energy and about emotion is that everything we feel, everything we've ever experienced, frankly, I mean, this is a little scary at times to think, everything we've ever seen, everything we've experienced, it all lives in the body. It stores itself in our cells if the energy is not embodied and released. And I've learned this in a variety of places. I've learned it psychologically. I've learned it from acupuncturists and massage therapists that have explained to me in detail how the body holds emotion. What I've come to believe about how powerful we are, as spiritual beings, is that we have the potential to largely to heal ourselves of even some physical ailments, because some of the physical ailments are simply manifestations of the hurts, the pains, the resentments, the anger that we have not dealt with. And how I've learned about it from doctors, from massage therapists, is they've talked to me about, for instance, about the body releasing, say, this was even something physical, the thing I'm thinking of right now, but I worked with a massage therapist, a master, and she was assisting in a workshop that was a deep emotional and spiritual experience. And she was talking about how the body can even release anesthesia years after a surgery. I said, how is that possible? And she said, it's all stored in the body. So the body stores pain, it stores sadness, it stores anger, it stores joy as well. But we love that. We love for it to store joy. But what can happen in this deep experience? What could happen is people would access pain from 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We think of it as existing in the mind, but it actually exists in the body, and the body holds these emotions. So when I'm talking about today is a new day, when I'm saying that there's an opportunity for this day to be expanded and grand and whole and good and fun, that it means that we have done the spiritual work the night before to release and forgive some of those old pains and hurts, that we have decided that we want to live a spiritual life in a way that we release, that we forgive, so that we're not holding on to pains of the past, thinking that somehow holding on gives us some sense of power. Usually we hold on to emotion or pain or hurt either unconsciously, in other words, we don't really know we're doing it. The other reason is because somehow it gives us a sense of power, that we feel if I can just hold on to this, I'll be stronger than they are. And the they is whoever has hurt me. Yeah. Largely, though, I believe it's unconscious. In other words, we don't know we're doing it. So the reason to become conscious is to heal. The reason we want to become conscious is to heal. And Friends, I so believe this statement that Jesus said, I came that you might have life and have it more abundantly. I believe that life is supposed to be full of fun and joy. It should be full of growth. It should be full of joyful times with family and friends. It would be natural to be able to pay all of our bills and have money for when we need it. Like, to me, this is an abundant life, a body that's fit and well, where I don't have to be going to the doctor and on all these medications all the time. To me, that's an abundant life. And what I know is that if I'm hanging on to fears, resentments, and anger, that new day that wants to come forward for me simply cannot come forward. And friends, it took me years to get this clear on this topic. It has absolutely taken me years, because there seems to be some idea in the culture that if I can be madder than you, if I can win, then I don't know, somehow I'm getting something. But when we're holding on to this energy of resentment, or I'm beating you, or I'm winning, frankly, it's just this, it's anger that's disguised. And that type of anger and that type of, I'm saying in air quotes, I guess, winning, is actually losing, because it's forced energy, and it is rooted in the inability to forgive and release, right? It's rooted in anger. So when I'm saying there's a new expansive day that wants to come forward for you, you are going to be required to forgive, release, let go, and move on. Put simply, I have to release the chains of the past to move forward into my new freedom. And for each of us, those chains of the past are going to be somewhat different, but emotionally very similar, because we are releasing hurt. You know, hurt is simply usually a sense of betrayal. We're going to be releasing sometimes physical pain, sometimes emotional pain. We're going to be releasing. I've worked with several clients over the years that have been very betrayed by family members, and the work, the healing work that's been so tremendous has been to know that you don't always have to stay in the same relationship as family as you've always had. If you're going to be hurt, if you're going to be betrayed, there has to be a release sometimes of that relationship, and not only a release of the relationship, a letting go of this shouldn't have happened, etc., because it's already happened. Right? So if we're holding resentments, anger, pain, judgment, we have not been able to move to release and forgiveness. And by saying that, I'm not saying it's easy. Yeah. I'm not saying that's easy. Yeah. I was in our live recording that I'm excited for everybody to hear. We were talking a little bit about my family situation that I've been really having to work on releasing. And this helps me have a good day the next day when I can release that before going to bed. I think I agree with the great Ram Dass, who said, if you think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family. You know, I realize as I'm talking about this topic today that I'm saying a new day is available, and I'm talking all about release and forgiveness. And the reason I am, and I'm harping on it, I'm going to make sure you get it, that I think what a lot of us try to do is ignore the past and then move into the new day. And it's like we're carrying this invisible bag of garbage with us and wonder why something stinks, you know. Psychologically, of course, that's called the shadow. You know, that there are these shadow pieces that when they are unnamed and unworked, that they really do own us. They run our life in a way that we're not aware of. So what I enjoy most about life is that when I can release and when I can forgive, I have renewed energy. I have new opportunities in relationship and work, like new friendships that just crop up from, a simple errand to the store or going to work out or, one of the various places I find myself. And it brings me so much joy to be able to experience that I want that for you too. And I realize though that it doesn't happen by accident. It really does take some, I will say a great deal sometimes of spiritual and emotional effort to be able to release the past. It's like being a real spiritual grown-up to be able to do that. And it really is a day-by-day and moment-by-moment process. It's like, if I can release any hurt, if I can release any pain from my life, any day of the week, I know I'm going to rest in peace. And that next day, I'm going to have a new feeling, a new direction for my life. And the more I do it, it's like I create a whole new energetic, vibrational reality. It's like I'm not zigging or zagging. I'm clean and clear. I'm not mad or pissed or hurt. I'm full of love, full of hope, full of laughter, full of energy. But it is a day by day, sometimes moment by moment process to release the hurt and pain and move into forgiveness. And this frees me for that new day. This frees me for that new day. This frees me to kind of walk into my dreams, goals, and desires because I'm not held by the past. It's like I absolutely believe, friends, that each of us have this really specific divine DNA that is guiding us into our next right step, spiritually, emotionally, even physically and financially. And until we decide to release the chains of the past, the hurt, the resentments, the I wish it would have been, could have been, should have been, that until we begin to release that, I absolutely believe the good new day, the good new life that wants to come forward for us simply cannot come forward. So my hope for you and for me is that we commit on a daily basis to release the hurt and the pain and move into forgiveness. This is what I believe is required to live an abundant life. A truly abundant life. Not have money, a truly abundant life, which is relationships, which is, ease, which is grace, which is fun, which is a healthy body, mind, and soul, Yeah. This excites me to think about what if all of our listeners started doing this? Because again, I talk a lot about setting your intention in the morning. I talk a lot about the morning pages and gratitudes. I think all of that flows even better if the night before we're releasing the hurts of the day. And I've had a lot of people say to me, like, I don't know how to forgive. I say, try, start. And so a lot of times what I'll do to do the release work is, I'll do a few deep breaths and then I will just bring to mind, moments throughout the day, like yesterday that I was saying, I was in a little self-judgment. So I just say to myself, thank you, God, for this day. I want to release any self-judgment. I want to give that to you. Help me to forgive myself if I wasn't my best self. I know you already forgive me. And I just imagine breathing out that self-judgment. I imagine breathing out if somebody said something hurtful or, I had a colleague just tell me that someone came up to her after a talk and said something very mean. And she said, and I just laughed and said, thank you for the feedback. I said, yeah, just don't even take it in. Just release it right away. And so that's what I would do in the evening. I would just say, like when I was picking up my furniture, everything was taking forever. And I was driving and I was worried about the rain and this and that. And I realized I was really nice to the guy, but as I got in my vehicle, I was like, okay, I that took way too long. I'm almost going to be late to pick up Josh. I started in my mind. And so I needed to unwind that a little bit to get present. I needed to unwind that a little bit and say, I bless that guy for loading my truck so well. I want to bless this new purchase because I love this piece of furniture. I've been wanting something like this for a long, long time. And it just felt good to be able to have it and be able to afford it. And yeah, so let's just release any of that negativity. So it wasn't like it was some major life-altering thing. It was like, I don't want to take these little disturbances and resentments into the next day. Frankly, they're not important enough. They should not be getting this much of my headspace and this much of my spirit and emotional energy. It happened, for 15 minutes, an hour. I've survived much worse. Let's just release that so that I can be clean and clear going into the evening and clean and clear into sleep and have a real night of rest instead of worry and resentment and wake up pissed at the world. So sometimes it's that simple, just breathing and imagining the hurt and pain of the day or people that have kind of left out of my heart. Just imagine releasing them into the light and then filling those areas with light. It's super simple. Sometimes it is saying that forgiveness mantra, like that I forgive myself, I forgive others totally and completely. I forgive myself, I forgive others totally and completely, and I rest in peace. I go to bed, I rest in peace. I don't want to wake up bothered. I don't want to wake up angry and emotional and saying, oh, crap, another Monday. I want to wake up saying, I can't wait to get online and record. I can't wait to make my son breakfast and make sure he has what he needs for school. Love that. If I'm caught in the day before, this new day cannot present itself for me. So friends, I am absolutely sure that life is meant to be fun. It's meant to be abundant. As Jesus said, I came that you might have life and have it more abundantly. So my hope for you is that you'll start doing some simple practice that you make up yourself. It doesn't have to be what I say. That you begin to release, forgive, and let go of the little pains, the little hurt, the little annoyances and disturbances, so that you can rest, and that every day as you wake up, this beautiful, grand opportunity that is before you, that you can absolutely live it to the fullest, that you can take on this new energy, which is vibrancy, which is love of life, which is being able to laugh at yourself, to be able to be vulnerable and enjoy all that this day has for you. I can assure you, if you commit to doing this practice, that life will get more fun, you will have more joy, and you'll definitely make friends along the way as you're bringing this good and bright and loving energy to your life and into your world. So this is my hope for you, friends, that you forgive, release, let go, so that this brand new day that is before you will be a blessing for you. So we thank you for listening today. Again, a shout out to our friends in Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you so much for listening. And dear friends, thank you for all your financial support. As always, we're grateful. We're blessed to have your support. And frankly, it is your support that keeps us on the air. So thank you so much for joining us today, dear friends, and blessings on the journey.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2023, Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.